I'm not quite sure what to call myself now. Something that starts with a P, participant, previver. Actually, what I am is a previver, and I'm going to speak to you from that perspective today. My topic is participant perspectives in data sharing, what's important and why. This is me in 2012. I was recovering from a prophylactic bilateral mastectomy, and I did not know the first thing about genetics. I struggled to find the information that I needed, and I am going to approach my presentation today from the bottom up. So, thinking about that Chuck Close image that we saw earlier, I'm one little tiny piece, and I know that as a patient or a previver or a participant, whatever you want to call me, I see problems and ideas and solutions that can be addressed from my own perspective. Now, my perspective isn't the only one that matters. I have a handout that I am going to refer to. This is something that I put together as part of recommendations from many different participants in various communities who also carry genetic mutations like I do. And I wanted to bring this to you today. I know everybody was sharing their own laundry list. I think this really matters, and it's a good next step from the white paper that was shared earlier on participant perspectives. As a next step, we're going to have a cohort meeting on this. And what I hope is that these recommendations are something that are taken seriously. So what I want to say is that 3 key themes emerge from these recommendations, and I really do hope you'll look at this outline. The first is we need to let patients lead. The second is that we need equal access to the data. And the third is we need to bridge the data literacy gap or the education gap in order to get this information back to patients in a quick and effective way. So let me start with let patients lead. When I spoke to patients about this, the idea of a patient advisory board was the top thing that came to mind when we were talking with everybody. And a patient advisory board is nothing new. But the question is, who gets to speak for patients, and what questions are we going to raise to the top? Something that's really exciting about being part of this cohort would be that we actually get potentially to ask research questions for the first time in ways that matter to us. How do we get to use this advisory board to create a thoughtful design process? So, one of the things that comes to mind as the next step is we really have to ask how we are going to disseminate things to genetic counselors, and a quick model to create a feedback loop for people who really want to know what research questions matter to them. Now, here's an example of somebody that we can learn from. It's clear that patients are an underutilized resource. This is Emily Kramer-Golenkoff. Sorry about the, whoops. And she is a leader within the cystic fibrosis community. Emily is creating an innovative network of families who carry rare CF mutations, and we can learn so much from her. What she's doing is working with doctors and researchers at UCSF to accelerate the pace of drug discovery for her own mutation. And she's learned the power of her own data to do this. We need participants to have equal access to the data. So examples of this include, and sorry, my speaker notes are here. I had them on the thing. We need a cohort that ensures that grantees are going to follow ethical data sharing practices. And we also need to make sure that when we are bringing patients to the table, that they are part of the funding decisions. Here is an example of a person who we can learn from here. This is Stephen Keating. He is a PhD student at MIT. And he, through a participant study of his own brain, he was able to find through a scan that he actually had a 12-centimeter brain tumor because the results were shared back with him. He used that data and outsourced it to be able to make informed decisions about his own treatment options and to find the right clinical trials for him. And finally, we need education tools and to make those well-designed, because everybody's interpretations of things are going to be very different. We need ways to bridge the data literacy gap. And tools and training include potentially embracing this idea of citizen science. Can we actually create, as part of this cohort, a way for citizen science to flourish and to look at other programs that work really well for this? For example, Stanford's Medicine X program, where they actually foster patient leaders. So I will leave you with a final thought. My data is not an abstraction to me. This is me speaking at the steps of the Supreme Court in 2013 and telling my story in Association of Molecular Pathology versus Myriad Genetics. I did this because I understood how my data fit into a bigger picture, and I wanted to make sure that we had better options to prevent cancer, and I saw how our closed data system held us back. I think that data can heal, and these data represent that suffering, and I want to be a part of the solution. Thank you.